Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, we are going to take a look at the story of a makeover. A makeover of life really in like the worst possible way. But also like a literal makeover because there was, / is, a reality TV show called Zombie House Flipping. They do a makeover on your house and, well, flip it. Exactly what it says on the tin. Someone very much wanted to be on that show, someone else didn't, and, well, accidents happen. Or when there's this many secrets and lies, do they? Let's give it a go. Orange County, Florida, home to Orlando, home to all those theme parks, and also home to some of the most batshit cases you can find. Sarah, not intentional, Boone,
not intentional,
being just to name one. South of downtown Orlando lies a neighborhood called Delaney Park, a very upscale place with the oak trees and the parks and the moolah. And it was in that neighborhood that David Tronnes and his wife Shanti Cooper-Tronnes lived. David, 50, and Shanti, 39, had been married for about 1 year in the spring of 2018. But times was a little hectic for both of them. See, they were in the middle of a big ol' home renovation, if you can believe that. David was all about it. It was his passion, his fiery passion. A passion which would be snuffed out when he made this tragic phone call on April 24th, 2018.
Hello?
She's not breathing. I'm trying to do CPR. I can't.
Okay, listen to me.
This is David.
Your name is Dan?
David.
Okay, your name is David? Okay, who is it that's not breathing?
My wife. I'm Shanti.
Your wife is not breathing? Sir, I need to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Listen to me. I'm going to get the paramedics so we can try and get her some help, okay? Don't hang up.
See, he had been out that day, and when he returned to the garage him and his wife were staying in, while the house was being renovated, well, didn't he just walk in and find his wife Shanti's lifeless body? Shanti Cooper was born in 1980, and she worked in the finance industry, accounting. In fact, she would later create her own company, Process Improvement Solutions, a financial software company which, according to their website, Shanti helped over 100 manufacturing clients in all aspects of streamlining operations, implementing lean manufacturing methods, and spotlighting efficiencies in all business areas. Very cool. But more than anything, more than work, what lit up Shanti's world was her son Jackson, born in 2010. Shanti and her first husband, Jim, shared custody after their divorce in 2013, and there was nothing she would not do for him. But it was after her divorce, and it was on Match.com, that Shanti would meet David Tronnes. While she was in Florida, David was from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they sparked up conversation. They soon took it off Match.com, and it became very romantic. He managed to get Shanti to fall head over heels. Now David, he too had been married previously. In the late 90s, he married Carol Tronnes, and in 2013 they divorced, same year Shanti and her first husband did. Carol Tronnes wouldn't say much bad about David other than he was just a stubborn guy. Now David, after college, he got a job with 3M, the office supplies manufacturing company, and he worked in sales, but he left after saying he was burnt out. And so things went fast when he started clackety emailing Shanti, Pretty soon they were visiting each other, and then, before you know it, he was packing his bags, moving down to Florida, to Orlando, to live with her. Now David liked to spin tales of how he was, get this, a millionaire. He'd come into some mega inheritance after a relative had kicked the bucket, and he had to his name, check it out, $4 to $6 million in his back pocket. Now, when he moved, David fell in love with a house that was for sale. The house at 218 East Copeland Drive. A big, beautiful house with gargoyles outside and soon within. David paid for the house in cash, but put down his name and also his mother Beverly's name, not Shanti, which was odd. David and Shanti moved into the home in 2015, and it was David's obsession to remodel the entire house from scratch, rip up and out every single thing. Shanti, of course, would be footing the bill. You probably will think that's strange, seeing as how I just mentioned he was a millionaire. Shanti thought that was strange too, because yeah, David was not keeping it to himself how big his bank account was. But he never seemed to spend anything other than paying for the house. I mean, he paid for the house, but then she paid for everything else. And she was a hard-working single mother. Well, not for long. Shanti and David would marry in 2017. But David wouldn't even cover groceries. Nope, his wallet stayed firmly in his back pocket. Now, a lot of people didn't like David. They found him to be manipulative, creepy, like a child when he didn't get his way. He rubbed a lot of contractors the wrong way. Contractors which came and went, the renovation seemingly never ending. It appeared to be getting worse and worse, and all the while David and Shanti were staying in a small apartment above the garage. Shanti was working from there too, and soon they'd stopped sleeping in the same bed. Desperate for some sort of end to this constant shite, David called a man named Keith Ory. He was a house renovator and was on a TV show called Zombie House Flipping.
What are we doing at this house?
This thing was belched out of the Earth's innards.
Oh my God, what is this?
The zombie house. Together, we hunt these zombies down to flip for top dollar.
I think this is the worst house we've ever bought.
As it sounds, it's all about folk who buy old, foreclosed, abandoned houses. They've devolved into shitboxes. They buy them for cheap, renovate, flip. David thought this was the answer that he needed. Also, like, David just really loved the attention, so being on TV, I mean, come on now. Though even Keith Ory was like, when he stepped into the place, I think this is beyond saving. Though, hey, it was a challenge, so they decided, let's make a go of it. Work began, and it was to be included on the next season of Zombie House Flippers. But in April of 2018, just a couple of weeks before filming was due to begin, Shanti, she flipped out. She had had enough. She was not having it as she met with producers of the show, and she just stormed out. She couldn't put up with this shit anymore. This whole project, which had been going for like 3 years now to renovate the house, was going nowhere fast, and now they had television crews in. She was very pissed at David for a lot of reasons, one being the aforementioned renovation, which was seemingly endless. Two was that he continually refused to put her name on the trust of the house. It was his name and his mother's name. Even after they married, he still refused to put her name down. So essentially, she was paying for all of this renovations to the tune of $250,000, yet she didn't even own the house. So it was then on the 24th of April that David said he found her body in a partially filled bathtub. See, that day, David said he'd gone out, walked the dogs on the regular morning walk, then he had gone and done some work on the house, helping renovate it and whatever, and then by the time like the afternoon, evening was coming around, he was like, I haven't seen Shanti all day. Where is she? Wonder where she could be. So it was shortly before 4 p.m. that he went into the apartment to have a goo around, see if he could find her. In the bathroom, he heard water running. He went in and she was there in the bathtub. He pulled her out and called 911 right away.
All right, I'll just have you come on in here for right now. Just have a seat. I don't know how long they will be, okay? Did you have
To use the bathroom.
Yeah, we can go there real quick. Yep, that's fine. Thank you. Just have a seat there, and as soon as they get here, they'll be in to talk to you, okay?
The same day, as police were examining the scene, David was taken to the station and questioned by detectives. He was kept there, willingly, without a lawyer, for over 14 hours.
First of all, on behalf of the Atlanta Police Department, we want to say how sorry we are for your loss, David, and also for everything that you're going through. I know this is very traumatic for you. Okay. And it's just a terrible, terrible thing.
So you're laying with her head in the right hand corner. The water is running, but I don't think the drain is closed, because if it was, it would be going over, right? So the water's like half full. She's submerged partially, but she's also partially not submerged, and one of her legs is kind of sticking up and out a little bit. And it's just extremely awful, and it doesn't look natural. Obviously, she fell or something happened.
David told what he thought could have possibly happened to his beloved wife. Perhaps she slipped or fainted while she was running a bath and cracked her skull. Who knows?
What do you think happened? What do you think is her cause of death?
Either she slipped or she fell, or she blacked out, or something caused her to collapse.
But the detectives had just a couple of small, things we need to bring up just for you. Namely, why did it look like she'd been beaten to death?
Did you ever have your hand on her neck where you would have had to have squeezed it for any reason?
Possibly when I was trying to pull her out of the tub.
There was blood spatter. She had multiple bruises on her face. She was still wearing her pajamas, and she was wearing one earring. The other was beside her bed, as if she had been interrupted while getting ready to go to sleep. In fact, it appeared she may have died the night before she was found, quote unquote. That was because she had not used her phone since 11 p.m. the night before. There's also blood on her bed, quite a bit. David tried to explain that away as, I think she was on her period or something, so there you go.
Her injuries to me, David, seem really more significant than from a soft tissue fall. More significant than from me tripping and falling and hitting my head and knocked unconscious. Not only are they more significant than a fall, but they're inconsistent with a fall. Shanti did not fall and get those injuries.
Okay.
Without question. Now, if there's an explanation, I want to hear it.
I told you everything.
Did you two argue?
No, absolutely not.
Did you fight?
Absolutely not.
It was later determined that she'd been strangled to death.
If somebody was telling this to you, wouldn't you, as an intelligent person, think that something's not right? How do you explain this woman's head being swollen, her eyes being black and swollen, lacerations on her face where the blood has dried this way, yet she's in a tub supposedly full with water, clumps of hair missing from the back of her head? She didn't do this to herself, and there was nobody else there. We can forgive people for accidents, for nearly anything. But what we can't forgive is when somebody maintains that lie and that coldness. We can't forgive them for that.
The detectives did not give up pressing David for the truth, because his story had so many inconsistencies. He said he heard running water, found her, and called 911 immediately, yet the tub was completely dry. Her body was dry. They tried and tried and tried, but he stuck to his story, and he walked out the door a free man.
I know that you didn't plan this because none of this makes sense. If you had planned this and this had been intentional, this all would have made much more sense, and it would have been a lot more difficult for somebody to figure out. But it's so obvious. And that's why I know that it wasn't intentional on your part.
And you're not a good liar. You have fake cried over this woman's death since we made contact with you for hours. You understand? You get everything. You don't have to put up with her. You don't have to. You don't have to listen to it anymore. You don't have to sleep in the garage with the dogs anymore. On a couch. You don't have to deal with it. She's finally out of your life, just like you wanted.
He didn't have any scratches on him, no wounds caused by killing someone with your bare hands. Though Shanti didn't have any defensive wounds, so whatever happened, she hadn't been expecting it and hadn't been able to fight back. David would later tell folk he believed a burglar had killed her, and indeed, $5,000 was missing from the home, along with Shanti's diamond engagement ring, which was worth 15 grand. But that seems to have been a hell of a dead end. A lot more valuables were still left behind. There was no sign of forced entry or even a struggle other than the blood in the bed. But that's what David and his lawyers would press, that somebody had broken in, a burglar, gone wrong, they'd killed Shanti and then they'd stolen 5 grand and her diamond engagement ring, and then off they went. Jim Cooper, ex-husband, he was also looked into, but he had a strong alibi.
Latest on a murder mystery in Orlando. It's been a week since a woman was found dead inside a home, and today there are still unanswered questions about what exactly happened. News 6 reporter Mark Lehman explains why police have ruled her death as a homicide and what they're saying about the investigation.
In the week since investigators were at this home, neighbors tell us their concerns have only grown. Now with the case being ruled a homicide, there are many here left with questions about what happened and who's responsible. In the quiet upscale neighborhood near Delaney Park, the only sign that a crime happened at this home is the sign itself, offering a reward for help in solving the case. As the investigation continues, we've asked police if they believe this crime is random or perhaps targeted, but the only thing they are telling us is that no other details are being released at this time. In the meantime, anyone with information that can help is urged to call Crime Line.
So they didn't get David to tell the truth, or what they believed the truth to be. But they did find some other things interesting about him. Because David Tronnes was a man of mystery. He had a lot of secrets. In fact, hearing in the news about this, a man called the police. A man who worked at a local bathhouse. And he knew David inside and out, if you know what I mean, because David was a frequent guest at the local bathhouses. He was a hell of a guy and he loved hella guys. The employee at the bathhouse had seen David giving head like mad to another guy.
I was just walking through and I saw David, he was giving oral sex to this guy.
This was wild. Now, no one knew David's little secret. Shanti certainly didn't know because she would have flipped out if she had known. Or maybe she had found out. Maybe she had learned a few things about David, said it was over and the money tap was turned off. A money tap he needed for his obsession because, guess what, and this will shock you, he had no money at all. He needed her more than she needed him, and so they were fighting. Perhaps she had learned that he was what he was, a leech. Maybe she learned his lies, his escapades with the boys in the bathhouse, how he lied about being a millionaire, and how he was now forcing her to do this TV show to complete a project that was never gonna end. 3 years this had been going, and I guess she had enough. And David had too. Police learned of all his lies, and in August 2018, he was arrested and charged with the murder of Shanti. And a very big blow to David, that guy who was used to giving them, was that on the day he was arrested, police found in his possessions Shanti's diamond engagement ring. I thought that was stolen by burglars, David.
For 4 months, 50-year-old David Tronnes has walked the streets, a free man ever since his wife, 39-year-old Shanti Cooper-Tronnes, was found dead in their Delaney Park home. Until now.
Mr. Tronnes, you're here pursuant to a capias or probable cause order for first-degree murder.
Tronnes stood before a judge from the Orange County Jail. First-degree murder charges on the books. He was arrested Wednesday night.
He pleaded not guilty. Interestingly, soon after his arrest, police went to Minnesota to speak with Carol, David's first wife. See, a year into their marriage, she began to experience some unknown health difficulties, spending a lot of time in the hospital. Suspected poisoning, perhaps by Dave. Now Carol, though she would dispute that herself, saying yeah, she was sick, but she continued to be sick after the divorce. But Shanti was quite sick too, before she died. It would also turn out that the defence had in their possession for 11 months bloody bed sheets. Not only that, but a green cord, possibly the murder weapon, what was used to strangle Shanti. No DNA was found on it, but David had it for so long, prosecutors believe it could have been cleaned. And of course, folks, I mean, do I even need to say it at this point? The final little cherry on top of this shit pie would be that Shanti had 2 life insurance policies that David became the beneficiary of, either true fraud or forgery. He tried to collect both those life insurance policies about a week before he was arrested for her murder. It took a long time for David to go on trial, 5 years. It wasn't until late in 2023 that it actually began. During those 5 years, David had numerous competency exams, and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. However, earlier in 2023, he was found mentally competent.
The government's the one spinning here. The government's the one taking the insignificant and stacking them into a pyramid of inferences and asking you to make the same assumptions. The jury is bound by the law that the judge is going to give you, and I'm confident that after carefully deliberating and reviewing the law and spiritedly deliberating on the facts, listening to each other, a spirited exchange of ideas, that you'll come back and return the only just verdict in this case, and that's a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
The trial did not go well for David. After a 5-day trial and 5 hours of deliberations, the jury found David guilty of murder.
State of Florida versus David Tronnes, case number 2020 C.12472 AO, the Circuit Court of the 9th Judicial Circuit in Port Orange County, Florida. Verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. So it says we all, dated at Orlando County, Orange County, Florida, on the 18th day of October 2023, signed by the foreperson.
He was sentenced to life in prison.
I miss the times where we would go to Universal, or just the simple times, like walking the dogs or going to the park. She was the best mom I could ever ask for.
After today, her name will be spoken every day by someone who knew her and loved her. She will be remembered and thought of every single day because of who she was and is. It bothers me as we experience these moments that not only is she not here because of this parasite, no one will ever call or visit him where he's going. He will be forgotten, and he will not even be a footnote in this world. If Your Honor does what she is supposed to and do what is right, and that will only be a fraction of what he deserves for what he did to her. Thank you.
And there you have it. That is the story of David and Shanti. A murder over a house, a renovation, or a murder over the million little lies and double life David Tronnes led. The passion he had for the house seems to have been the only thing that mattered. That and, well, hey, let's say a few other things. He was taking Shanti for a ride the entire time, and when she likely found out, well, shinny. Well, prison is kind of like one big bathhouse, so you can look forward to that. Thank you so much for watching. It really means the world to me. Please subscribe if you want to see new videos every week. You can check out the Patreon where there's exclusive videos, early access to videos, and check out the That Chapter podcast every Monday for weirder historical stories that are pretty different from what I tell on the YouTube channel, I think. But yeah, that kind of wraps this up. So until the next one, which will be in a couple of days, take care of each other and yourselves. Because I love you. Mike out.